Hello everyone and welcome back to our little mini Zoe and Louise series.
Hello!
Oh, sorry there.
Hello!
I hope that you have seen the video we filmed last week over on Louise's channel. If not, make sure to check it out. I'll leave the link below. This week on mine, we are discussing bad breakups. I'm going to emphasise on the word bad.
Yeah, not just breakups.
Because breakups come under many categories. Some are mutual, some are great.
Great.
Majority of them, though,
In your experience?
in my experience, not great.
Not great. In my
Not great at
experience, everything's okay.
Louise is extremely lucky in the fact that she has never had a bad breakup. I'm actually very jealous of you. Although, I'm always a believer of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Doesn't kill you, makes you stronger. Try a little harder. Something, something, something.
Oh my god! Getting slightly deeper now. Deep, you know, put your snorkel on.
Zoe, you have had some pretty shockingly bad relationships, for
I have.
sure. You have had some bad breakups.
I have.
What has been the worst feeling you have felt during a bad breakup, and what was it that led you to feel that way? So, for example, you felt desperately sad because he didn't text you, or you felt desperately angry because of such and such, or betrayed, or hurt, or blah blah blah.
All of those things you just said. In my most recent breakup, which Louise was actually my friend during, and she was my rock. Thank you, Chummy.
Oh, Chummy. Thank you.
I probably went through one of the worst times ever. It was horrible. There's loads of other factors of it that obviously none of you guys are ever going to find out about. But I was
really bad.
Lied to, cheated on, betrayed, hurt, and
In the worst possible ways.
I just want you to know that some people you cannot change, and it's not always your fault, no matter how much they try and make it
You
seem
don't
as though
have
it is.
to try and change them.
Never try and change someone. And I would also advise you to leave at the first sign that it's not right. I didn't do that.
You see, I am from a school of thought that everyone deserves a second chance. So I would always give people at least a second, but you gave them like a 20th and a 25th.
Probably way more
and
than
a
that.
100th. Like,
Yeah.
I think, like, I do think give people a second chance, but I don't think give people like a 10th chance.
Yeah. And then dealing with that breakup, it was mostly the relationship that was bad.
So when you broke up with him, did you feel like the breakup went on for a long time? Do you think it's better to rip the plaster off and have no contact at all? Or like, because breakups aren't necessarily a one conversation thing. They can be like a months long thing, like breaking up with someone. What do you think
I think
is best?
Depends on the factors of how long you've been together.
Yeah.
And what they did, because sometimes some things are like, you know, if they killed your cat, you just wouldn't even give them the time of day.
No, I love Mindy.
Exactly.
She's dead and I still love her.
Exactly. But when you love someone, it's very difficult because you lose sight of what's normal and what's not normal. And
this is a bit like in our boundaries video last week.
yes,
You lose
exactly.
sight
You lose
what's
sight.
okay and what's not.
And people can become manipulative and controlling, which is like what we talked about in our last video. And I think, for me, personally, because my relationship was based around lies, once I'd broken free from that and found out the truth, I was able to get on with my life.
You were very down.
I was extremely distraught.
Like the videos that you saw Zoe make around that time, like you can't tell but I can tell, like you were not like really truly happy. Like you were probably just a bit happy for that video, but like
Yeah.
you weren't.
And
like,
it was such an effort to do that. It was like,
Yeah.
I don't.
You were just a really sad little human.
I was.
You just flopped about my dining room eating pizza.
I used to drive around in my... This is so depressing. I used to drive around in my car crying because I didn't know where else to go. And then I'd ring Louise and be like, I don't know what to do. You just feel trapped because on one hand you love the person, but on the other hand you know you can't be with this person because they're terrible and their actions and the way they treat you is awful. And it's really difficult to have that self-esteem to be like, I'm going to walk away from this. when they've made you feel so small.
How do you think they should? Do you think just get up and go? Do you think a phone call, face to face?
When I had my breakup, I actually did not see him and still have not seen him because I think that would make it more difficult because of what he had done.
Most people say have a breakup face to face, like a face to face conversation.
No, it went way past that. It was way past that. And I think if I had seen him face to face, it would have been worse because to me, I had the closure that I needed, which was the truth, and then I could move away. And it was really, really hard, but it was probably the strongest thing I've had to do, like the hardest thing I've had to do, but also I know that it made me a much wiser and better person after it. Like I would never change anything, but I wish that I had realised it sooner, that's all.
And when you're in the throes of a breakup, do you, like a bad breakup, do you feel like life is never going to get better?
Yeah, of course. I feel like I'll never meet anybody else, that I'll never be happy, that I'll always feel alone. But then I felt like that for probably the first 2 weeks, and then I felt relief that this person wasn't making me feel so miserable. Like you noticed, like almost immediately I was completely back to how I used to be, and I was starting to be happy again, and I was starting to do YouTube more.
You stopped sleeping in my dining room for like 20 hours a day.
I actually drove straight to Louise's when it happened because I knew if I was on my own I would not be able to cope.
Yeah.
So you looked after me.
That was a lot of fun and a great time.
But I think if oh, this is sad. But I think it's hard because it's your heart over your head. Because your head knows you need to walk away, but your heart is like holding on.
All my decisions with my heart, which as we well know, is not always the best way to make decisions.
No.
Sometimes you do have to like use your head a bit.
At the time, I felt like I was going to feel like that
What
forever.
can you do in that like period of time where you're like, oh,
go to your best friend's house.
if you can't go to your best friend's house, is there anything you should like tell yourself, or like would you advise getting out, or like staying in and relaxing?
Don't stay in. I think staying in is the worst. Delete them from everything. If they need to contact you, they'll have your phone number. And I did get the classic...
Or they can WhatsApp your best friend.
Or they can WhatsApp your best friend to check you're still alive and okay. But I did have the classic, I'm so sorry, I'll never do it again. I took you for granted, I'll never find anyone as good as you. But you have to completely let that go over your head. Do not fall for that. Once you know you're done,
almost
you have to be
expect to
done.
embrace yourself for
Brace yourself for it, because it will come, whether it's 2 days after or 2 months after. It will happen at some stage, and then there'll come a point when neither of you speak anymore, and you just feel like,
just free.
Thank God that's over.
So don't you feel so much more peaceful?
Definitely. Like last year was like a blur of just sadness.
Last year, 40% of the time we were having like an amazing fun time laughing our heads off, 10% was like average, and then 50% of the time you were crying about something.
Yeah. I would like to say, what advice would you give as a best friend to someone that's going through a bad breakup?
Patience. Because to you, you might be thinking, but you're free, what's your problem? Like, this is not what I thought to you, but like, it would be easy for me to think, you're free now, like, it's gone now, what's your problem? Especially if you've not been through a bad breakup yourself. But just think, that person, their like heart is broken. Like yours had been broken a long time ago and was shattered into tiny pieces. So I was like, I'll just wait, and slowly your heart will heal and you'll be yourself again. And these things can't happen overnight. So you just have to be like the nice person. It's like, it's okay. You can take 2 weeks to heal this, or 2 years, but I'm not going to leave you, because that person's just suffered a big loss in their life and they don't need more loss on top of loss.
And also, I really liked that you were also encouraging, because when I came to stay at Louise's house, she was always like, shall we pop out to the supermarket and grab some little bits to eat? And also, it was the time around summer in the city, and I did not want to go. I was like, I can't go. And you were like, we don't have to go, but it would be really nice and it might cheer you up. And it did, and it was absolutely perfect. But she didn't push me to do things, she just encouraged me, and I think that helped too. Thanks, Chummy.
I love you so much, Chummy.
Just thinking about last year is so horrible.
I'm
like
sad.
Look at Pete's new handbag. Anyway, let's not cry.
I'm glad that you're not treated like that anymore, and if anyone ever did treat you like that again,
also, I never really appreciated.
I will find you and hurt
and I will kill you. Have
Yeah.
you seen that film, Taken?
No.
I will find you and I will kill you. Also, I never really appreciated how freaking annoying it must have been for me to ring you every day crying about the same guy. But you never showed any annoyance. Like, you were so strong. You were like, you'll know when the thing is you'll know when the right time to walk away is, and nobody can tell you as hard as they try. Don't get angry. You never got angry with me. You're never like, oh, for God's sake, Zoe, stop going on about the same issue, just walk away. You were always just like...
Sometimes though, while you were talking, I would just be reading blogs.
Oh, sometimes whilst you were crying in your car, I wasn't really paying any attention.
I think it's because I obviously don't want to hear you in pain, so I know that if you need to have an hour and a half of crying down the phone, then it's not really any skin off my nose, and
it makes me
feel better.
Yeah.
And also, I know that I can cry on the phone to you, or...
It's happened many a time.
Yeah.
I literally could not count on two hands the amount of times we've both cried to each other down the phone. It must literally be hundreds.
It's such emotional messes.
We're okay now. Anyway, if you are going through a really tough relationship and a really bad breakup with somebody that you loved or love, it's never going to be easy.
Stay strong.
Stay strong. Just know that everything happens for a reason. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and I always told myself that constantly.
And if you're feeling a bit sad, you can just watch this video and think of us as your friends that care, because...
And we love you. And you
really
will find
care.
someone else.
Free yourself if you need to. Give yourself permission to be happy, go and do all things you need to do, and just enjoy your life, because, oh, it's really corny, but you do only get one of them, unless you believe in reincarnation. But if you don't, which I don't, then you should really probably, like, make this one alright, otherwise you'll be pretty sad when you're old. Just saying.
And if you are in a relationship that is controlling and manipulative, and it makes you miserable more than it makes you happy, please consider
Not
changing that, because I feel like I kind of wasted a lot of my time and efforts on somebody that didn't deserve it, and that I could have given to somebody else who did deserve it. So, as much as I wouldn't change what happened because it's made me who I am now, I would never let the same thing happen again, and I hope that none of you would ever. Yeah. We hope that you have found this helpful and not too depressing. I'm sorry we nearly cried. In next week's episode,
That's okay, I say episode.
Oh, did you? Okay. In next week's episode, me and Louise will be discussing uni versus not uni.
That is on my channel, which is ChummyChatter.
All the information is below. You can click on a little face now.
Or a little cherub fish.
And we will see you over on her channel next week.
Thanks for watching.
Bye!
If you're not thinking, yeah, I really want to do this, if you're thinking, oh, I don't know,
I'm not sure, even if you have to second guess.
Yeah, if you're thinking, I'm not sure, and that other person goes, it's fine, come on, it's fine, then that's a boundary that's been crossed, and you are well within your rights to say, no, you're crossing my boundaries, and I don't consent to this, and I don't want to do this,